Thank you, Josh. I will open the Bridgewater Finance Committee meeting on May 4th, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. Our first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting on the 13th. Any questions, comments?
No.
Motion to approve?
All right, thank you. Thank you. That was you, Julie, right, for the second?
Yeah.
Josh, if you could do a roll call, please.
Nate,
I'll abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
I'm going to abstain also. I wasn't there.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Our next order of business would be public comments. I would ask if there is any public comment that you state your name and your street address for the record. Is there any public comments? Public comment going once, twice, three times. Okay, we will move on to new business. First order of business is FY 22-058, the acceptance of library grants. It looks pretty straightforward to me, Tony.
Nothing to add.
Yeah, it looks like $25,000 from the State Historical Records Advisory Board, so that we can preserve military records and artifacts for future generations.
Motion to accept.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Julie. Thank you, MJ. Josh, roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving right along, FY
Mr. Chairman?
22-059. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Quick question. Since
Sure.
we have the older items from last time, the budget items, should we take those out of order and do those first? That way we can get those out of the way and address those issues first and foremost?
Can we do that, though? Every time I've asked to take things out of order, I've gotten different answers. Mr. Dutton, you're here. Is that easy enough for us to do, or?
It's easy. Sure, it's easy to do. You just need agreement of the committee. So just if there's a vote to take items out of order, that should be sufficient.
Okay, I don't have an issue with that, MJ.
Thank you.
If the rest of the
If I may, Mr. Chairman, do you anticipate any issue with those, the next 3 or 4 orders that are present?
I didn't. I thought that we would actually get through them pretty quick. To tell you the truth, they seem to be pretty plain vanilla.
Others may feel differently. So if that's
Yeah,
the
so
case, I understand why you might want to take it out of order.
But
Yeah.
on the other hand, the old business, the budget stuff's going to take even longer, which means we may not get to the other stuff, right? The new business.
It could be, but I also know that town council would like to take up the budget on May 10th. Is that correct?
Right.
That's correct.
So it may make sense to, at this point, what's the feeling of the committee, the rest of you that are here? Do you want to do it out of order, or you want to just keep going?
I would hope that if my colleagues are in agreement, I would say, let's take it out of order so we can get those out of the way so the council can address it on next Tuesday.
All right, can we have a motion then along those lines?
Motion to take the items for old business out of order and have them first and move the new business to after the old business.
Okay. We have a
Second.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Josh, do a quick roll call.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye, sure.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, so we will restart again and we will go to order FY 23-011, the annual town budgets. I was not the last meeting like Kathleen, so I may be a little bit behind. Tony, did you receive any questions?
None.
None? Okay. Would somebody like to open up the conversation on thoughts on the annual town budget?
Necessary.
I don't know how much discussion went on this last meeting. Was there quite a bit or?
Actually, I don't believe we had any. We kind of said we were going to save our questions and set them ahead of time. So even though I voted to do this out of order, we have a quorum, but we're missing Eric, Nate, Chris, Leah.
All right,
And
so
also
Tony-
Rick.
All right, Tony, did you do your usual review on the annual town budget at the last meeting? With this group?
Again, what we attempted to do, Michael and I spoke and we communicated through from Josh through the chair.
Yep.
And we said, look at, to make this a more effective exercise, instead of us going through the entire budget, we could, because a number of the members have been through this, and those who hadn't, we also offered some one-on-one time. No one took advantage of that. And so we were hoping that questions would be posed to us that we could then be able to dive into even in more depth. That said, last night I will pass on to you that the subcommittee voted unanimously to support the enterprise funds and the general fund operating budget as presented by the town manager. They had little questions. They had enough time to review the document. And they had spoken to the fact that they had. There was a little discussion on revenues, what's going on in the economy. What do we see for the outlook for this coming year? What's going on right now and in this year, and so forth. But other than that, they were pleased with the information that they received.
Tony? Do any committee members have any question? I was just looking at this, the annual town budget. The one thing that maybe, Tony, you might want to address a lot of it, there's the Elm Street Diff.
Yep.
Some of us that have been around for a while, we know what this is, but we do have some newer members, so maybe just a quick review of that.
Yeah, I can go through these other funding sources. I believe earlier in this budget process, I did go through the sources and uses.
You did, yep.
Yeah, and the sources and uses document is in your packet. That is the complete packet with all the departmental budgets. So I will speak to these transfers and particularly the one that you question. So there was a project that we did jointly with the state. There was a grant fund and there was a funding mechanism that the town needed to come up with for the development of Elm Street, which is out by 24. And I asked Michael to step in here if I misspeak on anything. So this is what they call a diff. It's a district that gets established, okay, that allows for the town to really create a subtax area. If I use just some layman's term, within the town, you have the town of Bridgewater. Within the town, we're able to establish a diff, and it's a district incentive financing is what the diff refers to. And what that says is, upon the establishment of that diff, this district area, you will then begin to account for the new growth for economic development in what's called a diff fund or a sinking fund. Now, why would you want to separate your revenue? Well, you separate your revenue because that revenue is going to be used to fund the debt that the town commits to, and in this case, to improve Elm Street. So Elm Street was improved. The diff was established, the Elm Street was improved, and the revenue that we're generating right now will be directed to the diff fund, where we keep those revenues, and then we move those revenues into the general fund when we go to pay down the bond. And so that will go on for the next 20 years. Some portion of that will be transferred out, and that's how we pay for the debt on that project. Once the debt is paid, all funds then revert to the general fund and becomes available funds to be used as part of your operating budget. Any questions on that explanation?
No, I have none. That was pretty succinct. Thank you, Tony. Any other member of the committee?
So I have a
question, Mr. Chair.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
Kathy, I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna ask if you can explain the ARPA revenue loss.
Yep. So.
I was gonna actually ask that same one. Thank you, Kathy.
Great. So under Arpa, we're allowed to identify the impact that a revenue loss has had on our ability to fund our operating budget. And in FY 23, we're using $400,000 of our direct aid from ARPA, which is about $2.8 million, $400,000 to offset a portion of the fire budget. Now, why are we choosing to do that with the fire budget? Because the ambulance receipts were impacted greatly in FY 20 and 21 due to COVID. We are seeing a complete rebound on that, and we're getting our numbers back closer to 2019. So this is a perfect example where we're saying we can't use other funds. We've been impacted due to revenue loss. So we're going to use a portion of this to offset the fire budget for FY 23. We will not be coming back unless something else happens with our revenue stream. We will not be using as part of our operating budget. At this point, we don't foresee it next fiscal year or FY 24. There are some strange, well, now that the whole ARPA program has been identified, and I won't divert this conversation, but I'd be glad to next time explain the ARPA funding. And when we start to do the capital, I'll explain in more detail the ARPA funding and how we plan to be using that for the town of Bridgewater. But this is a small portion, 400,000 of the 1.8 million that we're using as intended under ARPA.
Okay, thanks.
MJ, you had a question?
Actually,
Same
it was,
question, right?
it was the same question that Kathy had asked, so I
Okay.
appreciate that she actually asked it.
Okay. You know what? And just because I didn't miss the last meeting here, I see golf.
Yep.
Is that actually revenues to the town from?
Well,
Or
we
is that-
always
or is that
had a transfer to the town from the Golf Enterprise Fund.
Yeah.
But because we're going to be dissolving the Golf Enterprise Fund.
Yeah.
And because we are now shifting in FY 23, all the related retirement costs, health costs for retirees, and debt costs into the general fund, we are diverting in FY 23, $336,000 from that fund to offset the costs that we are now budgeting in the general fund. When the enterprise fund is dissolved, we're going to establish a receipts reserve for appropriation golf, where we anticipate generating from the leasing company, both Barrett's and Indigo or Troon Golf, to the tune of about $400,000 a year. For the next 2 or 3, 4 years, again, as you can see, $336,047 represents the retirement costs, the health costs for retirees, and the debt service. Obviously, as those costs go away, then those revenues can be used and applied to other programs. And that's our intent.
Okay, great. Thank you. Get me caught up on that, Tony.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions, comments for Tony?
I did have one additional question, but I might have the answer myself. But can you elaborate a little more on the Title V amount, the 136,245? Is that for Title V septic loan?
That is exactly what that's for. Title V, the state, in fact, has a program that we participate in that allows those individuals who are not on our sewer system to borrow from this, consider it a state revolving fund that gets dispersed to the town. And in fact, we incur debt through the state revolving fund. And this is a transfer from the revenue that we receive from the state revolving fund when someone does $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of work for a septic system in their yard. And in fact, then those revenues that go into the Title V fund pay for the debt related to the Title V program. So we're acting almost like an administrator for monies coming from the state so that the residents can take advantage of a low interest loan in order to pay for Title V really, the Title V requirements, which is your septic systems that have to meet that standard.
And just a quick follow-up, Tony, has the program been, since it's sort of a relatively small amount for a town our size, given the amount of septic systems that are in town, not necessarily knowing where each one is in its own stage of decline or usage, is this normal for this amount, or is the program not really popular in town? Or can you give me an idea of
I think I'll let Laurie speak to it if she'd like, but I think over the last, I've been here almost 7 years, and I want to say we've dispersed $1.2 million for Title V work for residents in the town. And let's say back, a Title V system might be 30,000, it may be 60,000, all depends on the requirements for the particular lot in order to meet the standards of Title V. But it is available, it's active, and the town is, we just got a new disbursement of $400,000. So we are regularly, the Board of Health administers that program because obviously they do Title V inspections. When houses are sold, when houses are refinanced, there's an inspection process. So it's all tied into that.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tony. All right, anyone else? Questions, comments for Tony, Michael?
No, looks pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Do we have a motion on this item?
Motion to
to approve.
Okay, MJ first, Susie second. Sound good?
That's fine.
Josh, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie, Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next order of business is FY 23-002, budget order FY 23 Water Enterprise Fund budgets. All right, do we have any quick questions? Do we have I should say quick questions? Do we have any questions for Tony? Or Tony, is there something you want to elaborate on real quick? Again, I'm kind of at a loss a little bit.
Well, I would only speak that the Water Enterprise Fund is this year being staffed at a level that will have the proper head count for the new water treatment plant. And in fact, that's how this budget was built. We went through it thoroughly. The DPW director, the Jonas, the water plant supervisor or director, and our engineer and our budgeting team. So we're comfortable that we have, in fact, budgeted appropriately. It's also good to know we have approximately $4 million in reserves in that fund, and that will help us defray some of the costs of the debt service for the water treatment plant. So I would just say that we're fully vetted what it's going to cost to run the operation, and we're fully aware of what we're going to need to do to generate revenue in order to pay for the debt of the project, the water treatment plant project and any water line project. So we're very comfortable in this budget.
Okay, thank you, Tony. I see that with the 283,499 was appropriate under our previous order for this anyways. Any questions from the committee? For Tony?
I do have a couple of questions. One of them is for the town manager. Michael, quick question for you. For the salaries and wages, I know we were trying, and I know some other towns were also trying a couple of years ago to hire if I remember correctly, the title of it was like a step 2 or a stage 2 water operator. Do we finally have that person in the position? Because I know that was something that the state was looking for towns to have. It was like a higher level of water operator. I didn't know if this salary and wage line this fiscal year has that or includes that, or if we have that person now on staff and that's included now.
That is included. We do have a person that is, that salary and the benefits are obviously included in the budget, but they would be anyway. Our practice is if we've got a vacancy that we know we have to fill, we fund that with the salary and the benefits that are estimated or projected. So, yeah.
Excellent. The other question I did have for Tony,
Yep.
as it relates to water rates, I don't know if this is a question you can probably get over to Jonas. With the projects that are going on with the water treatment plant, obviously that would affect ratepayers probably in some regard. Are we looking to build in any rate increases into the budget, or is that something we got to wait for, water department to figure out on?
So the town manager and I met with an outside consultant that does water rate studies. We did our own internal methodology. That individual did theirs. We really looked at how we can best fund these projects, mitigate the rate increase, and we'll be making a presentation once we finalize those numbers. I think we're speaking about the order being submitted on the next council meeting, which I believe is the 21st or 24th.
24th. Yeah.
24th. So not the 10th, but the 24th. And then that will give everyone an opportunity to fully understand the impact that this project the project that we just referred to will have on the rates.
Excellent.
Yep.
No more questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. That was a great question, MJ. You actually I was thinking along the same lines, to tell you the truth. Being a water and sewer user in town here. Okay, any other questions, comments on the Water Enterprise Fund budget? Okay,
Motion to approve.
thank you, Julie.
Second.
Second from MJ. Thank you. Josh, if you could do a roll call for me, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie. Susie, you're on mute.
Sorry, aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
thank you. The motion was approved.
Hey, thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is FY 23-003, budget order FY 23 sewer enterprise fund budget. Tony, anything to enlighten us with?
I think I'd say the same on the staffing and same on what we're staffing, and we budget always for what's required for licensing for those who operate it. The sewer treatment plant is farther out than the water treatment plant as far as coming online and needing to begin to fund the debt service. But I think what you folks saw a month or so ago regarding the cost of phase one for the sewer operation, I think you've been made aware that rates changes will be coming for these sewer users. We will be bringing that forward later, not as I mentioned, the schedule that the water user rate discussion is going to begin. But we're probably 3/4 done with that rate analysis, and we will be bringing that forward probably sometime this summer or second quarter of this year.
Okay, and I know that I had heard in a budget subcommittee meeting too, I think it was Mr. Gallagher, I thought made the very good point too, that letters should be, notifications should be sent out to our fellow ratepayers, because I think a lot of people are going to be surprised, even though they had the opportunity to have input. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised.
So we'll be sending out on the water side of the house. That's why Michael and I wanted to make sure we move that ahead on the water side and put that forward on the rates, because we don't want that to actually impact the rate user until they receive their consumption bill, if you will, for the first quarter of FY 23, which is really sometime in early October, right? So July, August, September, billed in October. So that gives the individuals, we're hoping, almost 3.5 months to be able to adjust and deal with the increase in rates that they will be impacted by. So that's how we would proceed with the water, and we would continue, we would proceed as well with the sewer in that regard.
Are you saying the letters of notification that they'll be going up will go out 3 months before they actually?
Hit the bill.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you for that clarification. Okay, thank you, Tony. Any other questions, comments for Tony or Michael on the sewer enterprise fund? Okay, not hearing any motions.
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, Julie, right?
Yeah.
Josh, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Nate,
All right,
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on, FY 23-004 budget order, fiscal year 23 transfer station enterprise fund budget. Tony, anything?
Now, as you can see, it's a pretty lean budget. Salaries and wages and benefits in total are 102. That's one full-time employee. Operating expenses 245, and that's really made up of a lot of the disposal costs of the waste, the solid waste, and the disposal costs of recycling, because you can't get rid of recycling free anymore. In fact, this is a bare bones budget.
Okay, thank you, Tony. You know, I happened to be talking to Rick down there, and he said items, because of unfortunately the war in the Ukraine, actually becoming valuable again.
He knows trash.
Yeah, such as scrap metals, all that sort of stuff. So possibility there could be an increase in the future, but
Sorry, Nate, what did you say he said was becoming valuable again?
like scrap metals and stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And this is with all love and respect. We call him our Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah. He's
What do you think, Nate? Is that
yeah, but you know, he's into it.
he knows his stuff, and
Yeah.
he can really give you an idea what's going on in the world by telling you how trash is being
Yeah,
disposed
the
of.
trash is going, yeah.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, if you want to learn about it, go down there and talk to him.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating.
And make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Before we do, I actually had a couple of questions regarding the
Oh,
transfer station.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
That's all
Maggie.
right, Kathy. It's fine. Either for you, Tony, or for Michael. I know there have been issues in the past with the transfer station, like the site itself. Are we working on updating the site at all? Because I know we had some issue with DEP a few years back. I know some things were addressed, some things were still out there as concerns. Is there any discussion on the back end right now to address redoing the site or upgrading the site in any way so that Rick actually has a facility that is a little more helpful to him doing his work and helping him stay on top of the stuff that he knows?
I'll let Mr. Dutton speak to that from a program standpoint.
Sure, that's a good question, MJ. Our location is site assigned. It's site assigned. It's essentially outside of DEP's site assignment purview, but it is site assigned, and it does need some additional help. So probably within the next year, we'll devote some engineering time to look at specific improvements there. And we'll probably engineer that largely in-house and take off from plans that we already have, sort of conceptual plans we already have. But good question.
Was it part of the 5-year capital plan, the most recent one? I couldn't remember if it was in there or not.
Don't believe so. No, it'll, once we get a plan and a plan in place, then we'll add that to the capital plan and begin to look to fund it, but not yet.
Okay. No more questions from me, Nate.
Okay, thank you, MJ. Okay, anybody else? If not, I'll let Kathy make her
All right, I'll make the motion to approve now.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, MJ. Josh, if you could. The roll call.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And moving on to our final old business order FY 23-005, budget order, authorization of revolving funds.
This
Really
is
just
the-
a quick thing and
Yeah, it's a standard order required under this particular general law that we reestablish these funds every year. The town clerk street listing funds $5,000. So when someone purchases a street listing, it goes into that fund and it helps defray the cost of printing those. Obviously, printing is becoming less demand these days, but however, some folks still like to have that done. So any revenue that's generated from that goes into that fund. The recreation programs are funded by fees for the summer programs, and they go into the revolving fund and they support the department in directing and running those programs. So this COA, they have a revolving fund, and so when seniors take part in a program and there's a nominal fee for that program, it goes into that fund and again helps to defray the cost of those particular programs. And then on the library director side, same things, fines and fees, typically used, a lot of times they're used for lost books. They go and replace the lost book, or they replace certain supplies or support the programs. So you got the fines side that probably is late dues and lost books. You got the fee for certain programs they offer. And again, it's a nominal amount, but they use it to help defray the costs of some of those programs.
Tony, when you say recreational programs, are those sports programs or like the summer camp programs or
The
what?
summer camp programs, yeah.
No, not like little leagues and soccer.
No,
just
not Little
strictly
League, not Pop Warner, none of that.
Like
no.
the program that Miss Wood used to run, that summer
That-
program?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Oh,
which is a great program for the kids. They're down there all summer, running around screaming. All right, any other questions, comments on revolving funds?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, MJ. That was you, Julie, right? Okay, Josh, roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, MJ, too, for making that suggestion, because we do have that done for the evening. Which is good.
And I would like to thank you guys for all the work that you do and the nights you spend here, and it's really appreciated. We couldn't get the business of the town done without you. I know sometimes I may not express that and or may get frustrated, but I want you to know I really appreciate the effort and the time you put into this.
All right, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
And I would second that. I mean, sometimes the business of this committee can be of the most.
Sometimes it ain't easy.
That's the best. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it's just a grind. Is that a good way, what I want to say? Okay, so we did take care of FY 22-058. So let's move on to order FY 22-059 contractual buyouts. Okay, Tony, you want to just give us a quick?
Yeah, I'll give you the high level. There's a fire captain retiring with 30+ years of service. That represents the 116,607. There's a highway laborer with 20+ years, and that's the 11,365. And this would fund their sick leave buyback. I will mention that we are starting, and you've received some other sick leave buybacks, and there's another one, I believe, coming before you next time and so forth. There's a lot of retirements that are going to occur. So right now we have about $2.2 million in liability, and that's for every employee that's employed by the town. But if you look at the employees at the 40 years of age and at least 10 years of service and what our liabilities there, then that's looking more like about 1.9 million. So the long and short of it is we're going to be working ourselves out of this liability over the next 5 to 10 years. And because of the contract negotiations that the town manager has put in place, the sick leave buyback component and that liability becomes very nominal at best. Okay, it significantly changes what we have for a liability on our books or future liability. So because we did an analysis today, Laurie and I, and really looked at the numbers, we can see that we're going to hit the high water mark over the next year or so, and then we're going to start to find our way down into really a less impactful liability requirement.
Tony, when you do your next analysis or when you do analysis, does it include the fact that if they don't get to buy it out, that they take it and then we pay out in overtime because we still need to, like, say, a fire person, for instance, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess what you could argue in a lot of cases, these individuals.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that they lasted this long, but I know, like, in some fields and industries and not necessarily the town of Bridgewater, you know, even at the bank that I'm at, we used to get paid out, you know, we used to get to build it up and get paid out. Now we don't. So I see people taking it that not really.
Well, correct. So as a result, we have two things going on. One, we have a generational thing. All right. There's a younger generation. We're talking in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s, early 30s, where time is very important. So taking time off, right, if they're sick or if the family member is sick, has become more of a priority, right? If you go back 30 years, you know, I can give you a handful of folks that, you know, maybe only took 1 day off a year sick, and therefore they've banked their sick leave over the last 30 years. So again, there's a huge shift in how time is used. To your point, yes, when sick time is used, if you start to use your sick time, you can then impact overtime. The fire department, the fire chief and the police chief, however, do have the appropriate policies and management authority to deal with situation where there may be considered abuse of time. So that's a management rights. Town manager supports it. They're good leaders, they're good managers. So the issue that you raise, although it can raise its ugly head, it's managed accordingly. So we don't envision a huge spike, if you will, although there is a generational change that is having some impact on the use of sick time.
Thank you.
So I have another question, kind of related to what you said. You said, if I understood it correctly, that we should, and it was really helpful how you described it, that it's, you know, it's sort of peaking and then like in like 10 years, we probably won't see this.
Mhm.
So what is the difference? Is it that the age of the people?
Oh, the difference is the contract now says no sick leave buyback.
Oh, okay.
That
And when did that start?
Michael started that. Michael, I'll let you speak to it. I think it's when you started on board. I'll let you speak.
So, nope, that's, thanks, Tony. So that's a good question. So the notion that we paid people for accrued sick time not taken really started probably more than 40 years ago. And it wasn't specific. I mean, it wasn't unique to Bridgewater. I think many cities and towns found that they had high absentee rates, you know, a number of reasons that they wanted to make sure that they sort of incented coming to work, quite frankly. So for a period of time that was there, and actually it was just before I came to Bridgewater. I think the Board of Selectmen or the Town Council, both, you know, in transition, really decided, you know, we need to cap some of these out, what they considered, huge payments out for accrued sick time over the years. So over a career of 32, 33, 34 years, if you accrued, never had a sick day, you accrued an awful lot of time and a significant liability to the town. So at that point, it's different now, but at that point, that was not a liability that we kept on the books. So it was just sort of an unaccounted for liability. And departments would scramble to try to cover because it was back then it was a departmental obligation. We've changed it, and it started with contract negotiations. We began to eliminate the sick buyback provisions. We also saw a more educated workforce. So police and fire were the liabilities of the largest, but quite frankly, even in highway department and water sewer, where those provisions were also in existence, we began to see a more educated workforce. So more educated workforce wasn't inclined to try to abuse the sick time, annual sick time allocation. So between that and then, Tony's suggestion, we pulled that liability away from the departments specifically because, we figured, and we still feel, that the departments get a budget. They have to manage within that budget every year. An unexpected retirement or a couple of unexpected retirements that could add up to, somewhere close to $400,000 in sick buyback payments. Departments can't weather those kinds of hits. So we created, essentially a sick buyback fund, a stabilization fund that we could put money into on a regular basis, and then be able to fund wherever we saw the retirement or the departure from town where we had that obligation to pay. So it's been quite a long progression. It started probably 40 years ago to try to solve employee absenteeism, try to incent coming to work. Kind of came full circle, and we decided that really once a higher level of professionalism, a higher level of education, there really was not a reason to be offering sick buyback. So we had to negotiate that out of the contracts, which we did. So I think we're in a better place now, but as Tony points out, we've got sort of a wave of retirements coming, over the next few years. So we'll see significant payouts as we have seen this year, and then it'll start to decline fairly steadily after that. So did that answer your question, Kathy?
Well, thanks. Actually, it was a lot more, but I was kind of just focused on when the new contract started so that they don't get the buyback option.
Kathy, it started with me. Michael hired me and I got no sick leave buyback.
To blame, Tony.
Well, somebody has to be the first. So.
No, Michael, I think it was, I came in 2005. And so when I saw that first contract went through that cycle, I know some had been changed and others had to be. So that's like 2015, 13, somewhere around that.
Yep, I would say, the council, before I arrived, really pressured, and they worked out, I think the fire contract worked out something that I sort of inherited. And then after that, we were able to negotiate. So it was probably, yeah, Tony's probably right. The majority of the contracts changed in the 2012, 2013, 14, 15 era.
So you probably have, so when you said the 10 years, so people that were hired up until then. So if someone was hired in like 2005, they could be, depending on their age. So this could go on for a while, but so I'm just trying to get a sense for how, how big it is and how many people might be in that.
So when we do our 5-year forecast, we're going to include this as part of our documentation. We won't have names, but we'll have departments and how we anticipate the retirements falling out. The caveat is if I'm a police officer and I'm 56 and I have 30 years worth of service, I'm eligible for full retirement. However, I don't have to give you really any notice. There's nothing in the contract that says I got to give you a year's notice. And the same thing on the fire department. And that's where 80% of our cost is. So again, that's why we need to move money in there every year. We do the allocation because we don't know how these are going to pop. Yes, we can do our best guesstimating, but it isn't an exact science.
Right.
Is there anything we can trade off to get it in there where they have to give you some notice so we can budget better, or no? Just it's.
I will say this, Julie, while we were talking, I made a mental note that we will, I think Michael and I and Kim should discuss that. I don't see why we couldn't get a certain notification so we could do some better planning. And I'm not suggesting in any way they would have an issue with that. I don't want to speak ill of any of the.
Right, I know there's always give and take. That's why I said.
Yep, you've been there. Yep.
Yep, got that right. Thanks.
Well, thank you. That was very helpful, and you probably went into more detail than you were planning to.
It's a lot of money. You're going to see a lot of orders, so we really appreciate the opportunity to answer that.
And you answered my question earlier, Tony, about how much we had in our employee liability fund. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
So should we make a motion?
Any other questions for Tony or Michael on, you can. Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, first Kathy, second, that was MJ, right?
Yep.
Josh, roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next order of business is FY22-0.
I love the fact that you're. Is that just me hearing them that way?
We're on 60.
No, and no, Tony, you're tripping.
What did I say?
So Nate,
Yeah.
your Zoom draws your voice out really slowly. It's kind of funny.
Oh, does it? Oh, is it? Okay.
At least we were hearing every syllable and every word, so we know exactly what order and number we're doing.
Well, that's good. My wife says I mumble, so.
Okay, speaking to this, there were, so when we, the town opted to make the change from, town managed and operated to a management company operated, obviously there was a process, and Michael can speak to it, that the HR director, the assistant town manager, and certainly Michael and I were part of those conversations. How do we help the employees, where they want to, what they want to do afterwards. So there was some individuals that retired. So some of this 87,000 has to do with a couple of retirees. There was some vacation on the books that, needed to be paid out. There was some severance that we agreed to a number of weeks, nothing excessive, not like you'd see in the private sector or anywhere close to that. But we did handle a situation, as I said, Michael will speak to that well. And in the end, we had some retirements. We had some individuals go work for Indigo, a couple individuals. We had another individual come work for the town in another department. And this is to help close that off and make the proper payouts to those individuals involved.
Tony, can you just tell us what the OSLGC, what those
Oh,
letters?
Old Scotland Links Golf Course.
Thank you.
My bad.
No, I just in case someone didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Tony, I suspect I know the answer to this, but how come we're pulling it from the one-time stabilization fund? And not from the-
Well, we were going to be pulling out $336,000 of every other costs, and during the closeout of this fund and the establishing of the new fund for cash flow purposes, we couldn't fund this $87,000 directly from the golf course. So we went to our employee, into this stabilization fund in order to fund it.
Thank you. Anybody else, any questions for Tony or Michael on this contractual buyout? Not hearing any, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, MJ.
Second,
Second, Kathy, thank you. Josh, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you. Next one, FY 22-061, Diff debt service pay down.
So
No.
part of one street located inside of the Diff is First Street, and there was a separate bonding on that. And for cash flow purposes and for saving of interest costs, we're using available funds from the Diff for the First Street Betterment Fund and the actual Diff fund that is for the Elm Street. And because we have a surplus in there, we're going to use that to pay down the short-term debt so we don't have to bond it permanently. We'll save thousands and thousands of dollars worth of interest. We have the cash. We're going to use it. And that's our intent here. It's to pay for the debt for the work that would have been bonded for the work that was done on First Street, which is part of the Diff district. This is more of a housekeeping and cash flow item.
I'll make a motion to save money.
Second?
Okay, Julie first, MJ second, Josh, we have a roll call, please.
Nate. Nate,
Josh? Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Josh, did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
Can anybody hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Moving on, FY 22-062, rescind loan authorization for Diff district.
So this is the bond authorization because we were considering bonding for that project that we're paying for cash. And because we don't have to bond it, we want to take this off our books that says the town of Bridgewater has an obligation yet to be funded through bonding because we will no longer pay for this through bonding. It's a housekeeping item.
Okay, great.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, MJ. Who's the second? Was that Kathy or Julie?
That was
Okay,
Julie.
thank you, Julie. Okay. Josh, roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, next order of business, FY 22-063, transfer order for the Water High Street Treatment Plant transfer.
So this is a result of, I would say, good planning by the town manager and the water superintendent and the town DPW director, in that we have really analyzed our accounts and we're trying to mitigate the cost, the impact on rates for our water project, all right? And particularly the plant. And so a portion of this plant is not SRF eligible. What does that mean? It's not eligible for a low interest loan, the state revolving fund. Therefore, we would, if we were to bond it, we would have to go out and bond this as a general obligation bond. Right now, as you know, the interest rates are rising. And in fact, all our original estimates suggest that borrowing now isn't the best time to borrow unless you're getting an interest, reduced interest loan from SRF. Because we have retained earnings of over $4 million that I alluded to earlier in the water fund, we're making a decision to fund the non-SRF portion of the project with cash. and we're going to use 2.232467 million to take care of those costs, thus reducing the amount we will need to borrow.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Got some questions or comments for Tony on this? Sounds like another case where we can actually pay for something in cash instead of incurring costs through loans. Questions, comments?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, MJ.
Second,
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, Josh,
8,
roll call, please. Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Last order of business tonight, FY 22-064, sewer treatment plant transfer.
This is very similar, but this relates to very similar in thought process and planning process, different in that it pertains to the sewer treatment plant. So there's a lot of, as it says down below in the explanation, these are town shared costs of the sewer treatment plant for engineering and OPM costs. We're looking to mitigate what we need to bond there. You guys know that it was $43 million that was authorized for borrowing on the first phase of this project, and we said that we would continue to mitigate some of those costs, and this is a step to mitigate some of that total cost for phase 1 by using retained earnings from the sewer enterprise fund, and also a betterment fund that's been able to be built up. And I won't go into details and bore you, but it's monies that are available for debt service. It hasn't been used and now sits with a surplus of at least 1.5. So we're going to use that to help defray the cost of borrowing, related costs for borrowing, and we're going to put $2 million into that capital fund. Essentially, we're paying cash again and reducing what we have to borrow.
Tony, can you tell us what the full cost is, or what portion, what percentage of the project this is? Just out of curiosity.
Well, it's 2 million out of 43.
Thank you. And the end date of this project, do we know when that is?
Michael?
The end date of phase, what's essentially phase 1 is what Tony's referring to, is I believe 2025. So it'll get going very soon, and sorry, 27 I think is the end date of phase 1, and then phase 2 comes shortly after that. But I believe it's 27. Really.
Thank you.
And when do we anticipate that we'll have to start servicing the debt for this? If you said
We
that-
won't go to bond until the project phase 1 of the project is complete.
All right, so that's
All
20,
right.
and we just heard 2020, what?
I think it's 2027, I believe. I'll double check that.
Okay,
And again, what we'll plan to do is we'll plan to increase the rates in this case, because we've got a little more time, a little more incrementally, right? And we had talked about that when we talked about the $43 million borrowing. But as you can see, that's a number of years out.
okay, thank you, Tony. Okay, anybody else, any questions, comments?
Hey Nate, we love your
Entertain a
mug, but
motion.
turn off your video.
Why?
It's
'Cause
slowing down your connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
again?
time it seems like every time you ask for a motion, it starts to get slow.
Why, is it better now with my video off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, because Julie does, I hear the same thing from Julie and from MJ sometimes, actually, too. Everything gets kind of blurred with what you're saying.
I just mumble.
I'll just blame it on mumbling.
I think the
Speak
common,
softly.
Nathan, the common denominator is you.
Okay. I'll accept that. Okay, where were we?
All right, how about I make a motion to approve.
And I'm seconding.
Okay, thank you, Kathy and MJ. Josh?
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Well, I guess at least I wasn't sitting there picking my nose on camera or something, right? All right, so our final order of business for this evening is resolution FY 22-009, a resolution supporting the fair share amendments. Before we get into anything on this, I did a little bit of research, and I mistakenly thought this was a ballot question that was coming up in 2022. It does not appear to be a ballot question that's coming up, but rather would be an amendment to the Massachusetts State Constitution. Michael, maybe you could, am I correct in that assessment?
I believe, yeah, you are, Nate, but I do believe it does, should be showing up in the November ballot, I believe, as for a vote. But it is a change to the Massachusetts Constitution. That's correct.
Right, I think it's both, Nate, is what, because I think you thought it wasn't going to be I think it is going to be in the ballot as an amendment to the Constitution. I think.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking today and I saw there were 3 other questions that were on there, but I didn't see this, but doesn't mean that the ballot's ready to go anyways. Michael, do you have any comments, any thoughts that maybe you want to share with the committee on this?
This is Councilor Rushton introduced this. It's essentially, I would say it's a political statement. From a where I sit, and I think where Tony sits. Will it generate more revenues that will flow to the town? Probably unlikely. So town does not have, from my perspective, I don't think we have a huge, vested interest in this, so to speak, but it's designed to add an additional 4 percentage points to the income tax for residents who have over $1 million. Designed to add 4 percentage points to the 5% tax for anything over $1 million of income. So hence they call it the million. I think the millionaire's tax is something they've been throwing around. So, but that's really, that's about it. It is designed to evidently fund, very basically education and infrastructure. But again, how that flows down to the town level is probably debatable.
Right, I had that same concern, if I heard you correctly, in that it's political and not so much financially, and we're the finance committee, so yeah. It's not up to me to make the policy on what goes on the ballot and what doesn't go on the ballot, as far as something that's going to be at the state level as well, but we'll see what happens.
I agree.
So we're not being asked to vote on this, are we? Or what is, like, why is?
It is, it's that I can tell you the council sort of hemmed and hawed about whether this should be referred to the Budget and Finance Committee and the Finance Committee. And finally, I think it was referred by a 5-4 vote. And I guess, not speaking for the council, but I guess by that vote, they're looking for some sign from the Finance Committee that, some recommendation from the Finance Committee as to what they should do. I think last night, if I'm not mistaken, Tony, did they take no action or did they vote?
They voted without Mr. Wood's amendments. It was voted as is presented by Mr. Rustin.
Okay. So the Budget and Finance did recommend it, I think, by 2-1 vote.
Yes.
And for me, I feel like as everyone know, I voted on the mayor. I think it's another cart before the horse, just like with the marijuana. So I'll be voting against it, just not that if anybody cares.
Not just that, Julie. I mean, at least the marijuana was a ballot question that was approved by the voters of the Commonwealth. And then our state legislature had, crafted laws around it. We're not even at that point yet. We have the citizens of the Commonwealth haven't even voted on this yet.
And Mr. Chairman, to add to it, and just want to put in my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. I appreciate that Councilor Rushton wanted some input from our committee, but seeing how this is an issue that's more of a political thing than, again, building upon what Julie said as well, it's more of a political football than it is an actual financial measure that we should be looking at and reviewing. I appreciate the merits that are in this document and, you know, what it's trying to achieve and trying to put out as an end game goal. But I don't feel like the committee should be taking any action on something that is such a politically charged item. Even if it is going to be a ballot item, I feel like this is a bit out of place for us because we're more of a, almost in effect, a legislative body, in it, as it were, when we vote on, financial matters. This is more of a political item that, the council really should be the ones that are spearheading this. If we get monies from this type of amendment that passes to the state constitution, that is all well and good. If there are funding mechanisms that come our way and we have to vote on it, that is a great thing. It would mean more money for the town if it passes, if it became something like that. But right now, because it's in more of a political discussion stage, I personally don't feel comfortable making a say on this yay or nay, because honestly, it's more of a political football than it is a procedural football. And for that reason, I will abstain.
All right, thank you, MJ. That was very well said. Michael, what can we do? Can we just, do we have to take action? If we keep continuing it, what happens then?
So you have a number of choices. You can vote in favor of it. You can vote to recommend it, or you can vote not to recommend it, or you can actually vote to take no action and send it back to the council, or you can keep it within the finance committee and just essentially table it and bring it back up at a future meeting. But that's again, I don't think there's any particular rush to it, so it's really up to the finance committee how it wants to proceed.
From what I've been hearing so far, fellow committee members, is send it back to them with the taking no action.
Right, and I meant no in the sense of, I'm not going to take any action, but so what MJ said is like back to what I said. I meant if someone was going to make a motion, I was going to vote no, because I think we should take no action. If someone said make a motion, take no action, then I would vote in the affirmative. You know what I mean? Because I just think it's.
Well, I would even go one step further. I would just say no. I mean, I don't think this should go forward, but I mean, because it's talking about adding a 4% tax. I know it's for, I don't know. I know it's mostly political, and I agree with what MJ said, but I just don't agree with it. And the fact that they're giving it to the finance committee, I would say no.
Right, because if we're not really going to, even if we're not, say we're not going to benefit because we might not have enough millionaires or whatever Mike said, I mean, when is it going to stop? And they're going to, okay, then we'll lower the threshold because.
Well, exactly. And, there's a thing, and actually the other version, it's not in this version, but the one that Josh sent had something about community colleges to pay for community.
It didn't get.
I work for a community college. There's so much federal money available. I don't think this is well thought out, because actually, part of my job is to distribute all the money that's available, and we can't even find students to give money to. So I don't know. When I read that, I just said, this is,
the amendment's not before us. Like they said last night, they voted against that amendment that included that community college piece that you're.
Right, but I just think in general, if I saw that piece, I just feel like the other stuff is not, it's like MJ said, it's very political, and I don't think it's based on, where's the data to support it? Because I don't feel comfortable that it's there.
Right, I think they might have actually gone to the school committee and asked for their endorsement as well, and I believe they were denied, but don't quote me on that.
My biggest concern is our committee being turned into some sort of political football for a measure that, in all honesty, should be taken to the vote for the people, which it's going to be in November, if that's what I'm understanding. I just don't want not to be too possessive, but our committee should not be subjected to hearing something that's more of a political football. We're here to be a voting authority on actual data, fact, and information that is given to us by the town manager, the finance director, and various other town department heads when they are availing themselves to us for our work. My biggest concern is even if we didn't take action on this, or we do take action on this in some sort of affirmative way, I think our only action is to take no action, because if we say, yeah, let's do it, we now take a political stance with either a member of the council or a bunch of members of the council. And what we want to do here on this committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, is we want to remain as politically neutral as possible to ensure that the work of government can be completed in a manner that is efficient and expedient.
Yep, I agree, MJ, that's right, and a yes or a no vote is political, So I think the best thing to do is either we can take a vote and get it off our books and just send it back to the town council as Michael suggested to us with no action.
One of the options, right?
Or we can continue the discussion and leave it on our agenda.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I would like to make the motion, but if it's possible to make a stipulation within that motion.
A stipulation within the motion.
You can make a motion, we'll see if it gets seconded, and then we'll know.
Yeah, then we'll go.
All right, I'd like to make the motion
Yep.
that we send this back to the council with the caveat that any additional measures that come to us from the council not be politically motivated.
So I'm sorry, can I don't know if I'm out of order by asking a question. Does this have to go for a vote regardless, for a town vote?
I'm going to ask you to pause here for a second, because this debate that you're having was had at the council, whether or not this should have even been referred to you.
Mhm.
Okay, so whatever, if you want to keep that in mind, maybe that will help you in your decision making. Maybe it makes it worse. I don't.
Wait, say that again, Tony?
The council themselves wrestled with referring it to the finance committee, and they wrestled with the same idea. Is this a money article? Is it a business? Is it a political thing?
That was the 5-4 vote that they had to send it to.
Correct.
Michael's can speak to that.
Yeah, nope, that's correct. That was the 5-4 vote they had.
So when they sent it to the budget committee, what was their intent? What are they looking for us to do?
Oh, if I could look into the minds of 5 counselors.
Of those 5?
Well,
Or any-
because
I would venture to be so bold, Kathy, as to say they were looking for us to sign on to the exact same thing that they were trying to wrestle with last night, in the effect that we would have enough political clout to some group or body politic of individuals in the public sphere to try to cajole it further to be voted on in some way, shape, or form, whether it's either in favor of the amendment or in opposition to the amendment when it goes onto the ballot in November. Because it is a ballot question that will be amending the Constitution. My guess is, having been in political science myself for 4 years in college, didn't necessarily degree in it, but I majored in 2 things. My belief would be is that they sent this to us so that they could get some sort of additional political clout saying, hey, our finance committee approves of this idea because we as a council said that it's a good idea. Now, that could be one possibility. The other possibility is because it's such a political, it could potentially be a hot button issue. And if other towns and cities have their finance committees or advisory boards saying, we want you to sign on to us, it gives it more credibility and credence as to it being a measure that should be either passed or failed, depending on what the groups themselves are seeking to accomplish. In my eyes right now, it looks like the council wants us to sign on to it to say, yes, we approve of it. Yes, we want to see this pass. And yes, let's tell the public that your financial body, you politic in your town governments, in the Commonwealth, approve of this change in measure to the state
Right. And
constitution.
it's not our job.
Exactly, and that's not our job. We're here to just vote on measures that come before us that are a financial body. And like I said, that's why I made that motion to send this back to the committee with the caveat that they do not do this again to us.
MJ, thank you for airing your very, very clear and very distinct opinions on that.
Thank you, Susan.
I would say individually, I am okay with not taking any kind of action on this. Because of the fact that I do agree that we need more data, a little bit more information. I think that the assumptions about the council leveraging us for whatever political, I'm not sure that that's quite fair or where that's founded in. The other thing too is that I actually would counter, as much as we can say that we are a financial committee and we should be not political, politics is about policy. And all of these things are intertwined. So I absolutely understand that, I don't have a strong opinion on this yet because I don't feel like I have enough information, but in general, I don't agree with saying, I'm okay with us as a body saying, you know what, we're not going to act on this. We just don't feel like it's an appropriate one for us. But what I won't and cannot agree with is saying back to the council, don't send us something else like this. I think that this is a good, healthy discussion, but I don't want to caveat it with don't ever bring something like that, to us again, because there is a tax component in here. So I think it was worth the review.
And actually, I think if I could, Nate, I think Susie brings up an excellent point. I think everybody comes to, even the straightforward, what we consider budgets. I mean, the budget, everybody comes to the budget with a different viewpoint, and the budget is essentially a policy document. So political, in each individual's political bent, it has some effect on how you vote, presumably on the budget. So when I said it's a political issue, I meant usually, and I didn't say this, but I try very hard not to comment on, policy statements such as this one or take a political position on something, just because of the role that we play. We're operational, Tony and I, and Lori and Josh, for that matter, we're here to support your discussion and support your recommendations, whatever they may be. So we don't necessarily take a political position, or at least we don't vocalize our political opinions in front of the elected boards and the policymakers. So, so that I just wanted to add that, but I do think Susie's got a good point. There are going to be times when the council is going to refer things to you that may seem like just strictly routine financial stuff, but ultimately everybody, as I say, brings their political bent to it and has a vote, and you have a discussion about it, and that is good and healthy. So that's all. I just wanted to make it clear. I wasn't advocating a political position myself. I was just pointing out that quite the opposite, that staff tries very hard to remove ourselves from the political fray.
I think what I'm hearing is we had one potential motion for not to take action with the caveat for not other things, another one to maybe vote for it, but vote it down. And maybe, I don't hear anybody saying, let's keep it in the finance committee, with the finance committee. And I don't think I hear anybody saying we're in favor of it. So I don't know if that means we're down to two choices, a motion.
I motion to not it and send it back to council.
To take no action, send it back to council.
No action.
Yes, thank you
Yep.
for putting it into better legal terms.
Okay, do we have a second on this motion?
Because Susie echoed basically the same sentiments that I have, I second her motion.
Okay, thank you.
And
So
rescind my motion.
okay, thank you. So the motion is to send this back to the town council with no action by the finance committee.
Correct.
Okay, and we have a second on that motion. So Josh, can we do a roll call, please?
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Tonight, another long one, 8:20. We had a little bit of a political football handed to us again. And I really appreciate the discussions that we do have here. It is important, you know, that we do have these discussions and things come out. And we talked about it, you know, really, I heard almost Susie and MJ saying the same thing. So, thank you,
But I also
everyone.
would have voted no if we said, oh, you know, if Kathy had made it to vote no altogether, I would have voted no altogether. So either way, we're not, you know.
Yeah, so I think the message has been sent back to the town council. Thank you, everyone. So our next meeting actually would be May 18th. Is that correct, Josh?
Yep,
Okay.
that would give us enough time to get everything that's referred at next week's town council meeting on that.
Okay, on the May 10th meeting that's coming up. Okay, hey,
Yep.
Tony, you know, we've gotten through this part. What do we have? Do we have anything else big coming up in our town budget calendar or?
Yeah, excuse me, yes, yeah. The first meeting in June, the council will receive the annual year-end transfers, which will require action. So subsequent, Josh, to that date, what's the council's first June date? Do you have that in front of you, Josh?
I don't, but I can check real quick.
Okay, so, you know, we'd be looking for you to meet to take care of that business so that we can close the books.
Then that'll be sometime in a June meeting, Tony.
Yeah, the first June meeting. And
Looks
then
like
you'll have-
June 7th is the first town council.
and you'll have one more sick leave buyback order with that. That's the business that Laurie will be submitting on behalf of the town manager.
You said June 7th for the town council, Josh?
Yep.
Okay, so we would be looking at June 15th then, I think, would be that date.
Yes, that would give us time to add it to the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay, so our next meeting will be the 18th, and then we'll be most likely looking at year-end transfers at our June 15th meeting. Okay. All right, does anybody else have anything that they'd like to bring up? Or entertain a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, MJ.
Second,
Thank you, Kathy. Josh, roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Susie,
Bye.
MJ,
Aye.
Kathy.
aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Night,
Good
Have a
everybody.
good,
Good
Have a
night,
good night.
Collins.
Aye.
bye.